Hey everybody, another Magic Monday here on the Overrun. Ed, Bouter, and Dan Schwester. Danny, how we doing today?
Ed, we're doing great. We're doing as great as we possibly can. I can't say anymore.
Every day is a great day here in 2025. It's fine. It's fine. It's all
It's
fine.
good.
The good
Everything's
news
fine.
is today we have an interesting paper from December of last year. So we're still coming at you with new stuff here. This is the risk of delayed intubation after presumed opioid overdose in the emergency department. This is McCabe et al. And this is coming out of, this is Annals of Emergency Medicine. So this group and this study is really fascinating. So this is a group, the toxic phenologue study group. And what they did was they got to, it's a really cool name. So what they did was they monitored these patients with presumed opioid overdose prior to a non-ICU admission, and especially, people who had gotten fentanyl analogs and like that. The way they ran this study was they looked at patients who had received naloxone in the field and whether or not they required intubation in the ER after they received naloxone. So it looked at one very specific type of patient. But what's really cool about this study is what they found in this study can be extrapolated into a bunch of other things. So they looked at 1,591 patients who received naloxone for a presumed opiate overdose in the field. Only 9, not 9%, only 9 of the 1,591 required intubation. 0.6%. And then 8 of the patients had non-respiratory related conditions that contributed to the intubation. So again, 9 patients required intubation. 8 of those had conditions that required intubation, and only 1 had respiratory related conditions and then had acidosis and needed 6.4 milligrams of naloxone before intubation. So again, 9 patients out of 1,591, 0.6%. 8 of which had non-respiratory conditions that led to intubation. 1 had respiratory acidosis and got 6.4 milligrams of naloxone before intubation. So this one patient probably had something else on board and probably had some other pathology. I'm not eliminating those percentages, but 0.6% is a phenomenally small number of patients requiring intubation after getting naloxone. So the reason that this can be extrapolated into other things is there was, at least when this study came out in December, and now we're recording this in April of 2025, there's a debate over whether patients can receive naloxone and get a naloxone leave behind kit, or if they can be put on buprenorphine, or what kind of care they need at the hospital. And this is another study that reinforces that if you're looking to RMA an opioid overdose after they receive naloxone, they're probably going to be safe, and there's other avenues that we can pursue. So really, really interesting data here. Danny, what do you think?
I like this. I really like this because it shows the safety and the efficacy of Narcan. It shows that the public education's working. It shows that we can use Narcan as an initial rescue drug to get people back to a GCS at 15 without respiratory distress or without worrying that they're going to rebound and need more. Also, it really opens the door for us to take the next step as clinicians, which is obviously, and this is a thing that's coming up in our state. It's probably coming around the country, is getting these people on buprenorphine. Buprenorphine is an opioid agonist, but it's a long-acting opioid agonist. It lasts about 2 to 3 days in the average person. The benefit to this is now you will have somebody who is not dope sick, who is not in withdrawal looking to score, and now we can reach them with, at the very least, safe use practices, or at best, we can get them to rehab. We can get them into counseling, and we can get them off of heroin. You're starting to see this. I know in New Jersey, where we are, we're seeing a big drop in heroin overdose deaths. Even with everything basically being fentanyl now, it's not like it was in the bad old days when we were going on these calls 6-7 times a day for overdoses, before the cops had it, before we had a real system in place to actually deal with this on just more of a spot basis. And I love that this data reinforces to people, hey, look, these people are not going to need airway management. Once they're treated and they're back to baseline, you don't have to worry as much. The chance of them having an airway issue is very, very, very low. I just think this is great for the community programs and the outreach programs where, we're trying to show that if we do this, if we get to people in the field and we get to them early, we might have a chance to save these people for the rest of their life, not just get them over the hump. And I know there are people out there, and I know there's medics out there and EMTs that go like, well, why do we give them, Narcan and then let them enable their habit? Listen, we are in the job of enabling everyone's habit, folks.
Every single patient.
We give nitro to people who eat too many cheeseburgers. We give nebulizers, beta agonists, and steroids to people who smoke too damn much.
Yep.
We deal with type 2 diabetics who have basically overdrawn their pancreas. We treat the person who put their hand through a plate glass window. We are the masters of dealing with people who've made bad choices. If you don't want them to make those bad choices, you're going to be out of a job, because that's 90% of what we do. So get over it.
And there's the data. And again, the catchphrase of the Journal Club now is the data is
data is extant.
Where we know that recidivism is already low, right? So what this study doesn't actually talk about is patients that were RMA'd or stayed home. So there is a cohort in this study that was kind of left out. Fine. I imagine that was probably a small cohort. And again, I'm making assumptions that aren't necessarily in the paper. But again, seeing that these patients don't need to be intubated. And again, you can say that intubation is a high standard, whatever. What I take out of this study is I see someone who's overdosed. It's just a simple overdose. There's no other sequela along with it. They receive naloxone, they wake up, and they're okay. This study at least gives me comfort as a clinician, knowing, all right, the data suggests that the patient is probably going to be fine. Right. Yeah. Now, there's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be patients who, buck the curve, who call back a second time, or who who overdose again later in the shift. That's not what we're saying. When you have someone who, and this could be anybody, this could be a chronic pain patient who just took one too many tablets. You give them naloxone, they wake up, they maintain their airway, and everything is good to go. That patient can probably stay home. So when we look at these studies, we talk about practice changing concepts all the time. This study is not one of those studies that is going to change your practice, right? You're already giving naloxone to opioid overdoses. And as you said, Dan, almost everything is fentanyl now anyway. So we're already giving naloxone to these patients. Now, you can give naloxone to the patient and have a little bit more reassurance that, maybe that patient can stay home. Or if we take them to the hospital, they're probably going to be healthy in the meantime. The biggest point that you made, Dan, that I want to reinforce is I don't particularly care how many times I have to treat an overdose. What I care about is that I'm able to treat that overdose, right? If I have to treat someone 10 times so that they can be awake the 11th time or be alive the 11th time, that's what we're there for. That's the entire point of emergency medicine and emergency medical services, is to fix that thing so that patients can live to the next thing. So I see this and it's very reassuring. It's very encouraging to me.
Yeah, it's great. And for the places that have a buprenorphine protocol in place or carry it on the trucks, this is the perfect opportunity. And it's a great sell, because you'd be like, hey, we woke you up, you weren't using safely, I got a deal for you. I can give you a medication that's going to sit there for 3 or 4 days until you can get into counseling. You're not going to be dope sick. You're not going to go through withdrawal. Would that be something that you're down with?
Yeah.
And having a chance to kick a habit like this is a life-changing event. And now we've been given that idea. We've been giving that power out in the field. I think everybody should be carrying it. I think we should be offering it to everybody. We should be doing naloxone take-home kits, should be nationwide. And we have to get over the stigma, okay? Listen, The same people who bitch and moan about people doing heroin are the same people who go home and have 4 gin and tonics before they go to bed.
That's a whole other episode that we can do. No, absolutely. And it's right. Our job is to treat patients. That's it. I try to shy away from, like, this is what you signed up for and all of that. But, when you go to work on an ambulance, you're going to respond to emergencies. That's how it works. And you want that patient to be alive each time you go to see them, right?
The red lights aren't so you can get to Taco Bell.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is something that I think kind of reinforces what we do. And at least, if nothing else, it suggests that what we do in the field makes a difference, which is also comforting. Let us know what you guys think, what your experience giving naloxone in the field and seeing recidivism or having patients intubated afterward. Leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok and Meta, Instagram, Facebook, all the other places. Check out our stories on EMS1 News as well. For the Overrun, Ed Bouter, Dan Schwester, we'll talk to you all next week.
Please don't sue us, Taco Bell. I really like your stuff.
Give me that cantina chicken.